In this video net interview at IBC 2011, we're speaking with Daniel Danker, General Manager at the BBC. Hi Daniel.
Nice to meet you.
Obviously the tablet is one of the big stories of IBC, and we're hearing more and more that perhaps the tablet could displace not just the PC but even second TVs around the home. I mean, what's your view on that?
Well, we've worked with a variety of new devices in the last couple of years. BBC iPlayer is very popular on the PC, and it's done quite well on mobile phones and TVs as well. But I would say that the tablet is one of the first new devices that really delivers on the promise of television. It's easy to use. It feels like very much a personal TV. And so already in less than a year's time, we've seen the consumption of BBC iPlayer programs and BBC programs on tablets just go through the roof. The proportion of use of tablets to watch television and live TV even has been just amazing. And I think that that's in part because it does feel like a very natural place to watch television. The barriers to entry are very low. You don't have to be a technologist, you don't have to be an expert. And so it's just a very natural, elegant experience. So I think this is going to be one of the most popular ways to consume television when not on a television.
And you mentioned live TV, and obviously that seems to be making a renaissance on the multi-screen, presumably because of the tablet, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. We see with BBC iPlayer that peak tends to be in the evening and several hours after linear peak. People tend to watch television on TV and then perhaps catch up on what they missed on BBC iPlayer on the PC or elsewhere. Well, in fact, on the tablet, we're seeing a new effect happen, which is that the peak is starting to drift back toward linear peak. So people are actually choosing to watch television on the tablet when maybe the TV is being used by someone else in the house, or they want a more personal experience, maybe lying in bed and you just want to kind of prop it up on your lap. So it's a different experience, but the content still comes through in a very natural way.
And does it matter to you as a broadcaster where people watch? I mean, I know obviously you're not a commercial broadcaster, so you don't need to worry about advertising, but does it make a difference to the BBC whether people are watching on a smartphone, on the main TV or a tablet?
Well, I think our aim is to deliver terrific programs to our audiences wherever they want to consume them. So it's a personal choice that the audience is making, saying, I prefer right now to watch on a tablet versus the TV. That's a decision someone makes, and we're here to support that decision. I think it's terrific that people are given that choice. It gives folks an additional degree of control that they might not normally have when watching live TV on a television, and I think that's great. So we have no hang-ups whatsoever about where they choose to watch it, as long as it gives them what they wanted. When they pay their license fee, they're getting something in return for that delights them.
And presumably there is an opportunity to offer more, and perhaps more interactivity in particular. I mean, what can you do with a tablet, do you think, that would make the BBC experience even more compelling?
Yeah. Well, I think there's an opportunity to offer more interactivity and control on all screens. And really, it's a distinction not between tablet and TV in my mind, as much as connected and broadcast. And in a broadcast world, you have to kind of live within the constraints of broadcast. There are bandwidth constraints, there are technology constraints, and there's user interface constraints. In a connected world, many of those constraints go away. And so we need to take advantage, we can take advantage of that to deliver more interactive experiences. Without question, one of the killer apps is control of when you watch. So I think the success of BBC iPlayer is that it's been a very logical, easy to understand proposition that's available on many screens and across the UK. That's kind of what's made it successful. Now we build on that interactivity, but we do so on every screen, not just the tablet. I also think that we need to be careful jumping in too quickly to assume that this will change everything about how TV is viewed. Actually, what people really love is watching the programs that they love and having the control over where they do that.
Okay, well that leads to another point, because we're seeing a lot of talk now about synchronising, not just having the ability to watch it on a second screen or a companion screen experience, but real-time synchronisation between that second screen experience and what's on the main TV. I mean, do you think that is likely to become an important issue, or is that a sideshow?
No, I think it is an important issue, absolutely. It's an opportunity. If you consider interactive experiences today on television, the red button service that we have at the BBC has been probably one of the most successful interactive services ever. I would say that actually it's the most successful dual screen experience ever made, with one catch: it happens to be on the same screen. And over 13 million people use BBC's Red Button services each week. Now, those are services that make the broadcast viewing experience better because they enable our audiences to engage with the content in a slightly more interactive way. Today, they do that on the TV, but they cover up some of the program in the TV when they do that. Now, if you and I were watching at the same time, I might be interested in some of that interactivity, and you might not be. So I might actually be taking away from your viewing experience. And in that sense, having a dual screen experience, I think, can add to the program and add to the experience. But it isn't that every single program should be interactive. In fact, if you consider dramas, which really do best when they can get you immersed in the program, perhaps stepping away from the storyline to have some sort of interactive experience isn't actually making the program better. And our goal as a content creator and as one of the most creative organizations in the world, our goal isn't to simply jump into the technology because it's there. Our goal is to really think carefully about where that technology can make programs better and then take advantage of it.
Okay, I mean, if we try and work out what would really be the mass market killer application, I mean, is it more likely that it will be the sort of catch up via the IP? And we're talking about hybrid broadcast broadband, which obviously the BBC are working very hard on. And you obviously have your catch up services available anyway through apps and even through VOD with Virgin Media. I mean, are we likely when sort of set-top boxes arrive with IP and they're coming out now to see much more catch up? And is that really what consumers want more than anything?
Without question, the killer app on TV is TV. And I think every attempt that's been made to try to come up with a killer app that may take away from that or change how you use your TV fundamentally remains to be seen, but we haven't seen a killer app come out in that form. So PVR, for years now, has been considered a killer app because it's given audiences choice and control. Well, catch-up services do the very same thing, but take away a really important kind of barrier with PVR, which is that you have to plan ahead. So with catch-up, you don't. You don't have to manage a technology element that really doesn't add to the TV experience. Your hard drive's not going to fill up. Programs aren't going to suddenly disappear because new programs came in. So catch-up services make that better and make TV, the killer app on TV, simpler and more enjoyable. Now, even though BBC iPlayer has been incredibly successful on the PC, I think that watching television on the PC still feels a little bit like a compromise. And the reason we're excited about tablets and mobile phones and connected TVs is that that compromise is going away. You now get to consume catch-up services in their most natural home, which is on the TV.
Sure. Okay, well that just brings us to the last point really, which is BBC iPlayer. And you've done a fantastic job of getting that onto lots of devices fairly quickly. And that's been a fairly big effort, sort of, different development for each device. I mean, is the world becoming easier for you in terms of getting it onto more screens? And the proliferation of screens presumably means it needs to get easier.
Yeah. Well, BBC iPlayer today is on over 300 connected TVs and devices. So that's something we're very proud of. But I would say that 2010 was the year of porting. We took a piece of software and a great product and spent a lot of time bringing it to many screens and bringing it to many devices. Now, they all worked a little bit differently, and not necessarily better, but just different, which meant that as engineers, we spent a lot of time re-implementing the same thing to deliver that experience to a broader audience. We learned a lot in doing that, and I think one thing we learned is that we needed to drive standards in the industry. And now, 2011 has really been the year of innovation. So we released a new BBC iPlayer for TV just last month, and it's been incredibly successful. It's also now architected as a single reference implementation that all devices and platforms can work with. And I expect that we'll be spending far less time porting and far more time innovating. I don't think we would have known to do this, though, had we not gone through the experience that we did in 2010.
Okay, all right, well, good luck with that, and that's a great place to leave it. Thank you for your time.
Cheers.